Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to another episode of City Boys. On this episode, we are actually outside the city for the first time in a long time. We know it's been a long time, but some big things have happened between this episode and the last one we recorded. But before we get into it, gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
What up, y'all? I'm still in the corner. It's another day in paradise still. It's your boy Ethan, and I'm very excited to be talking about some soccer. Definitely a step away from our St. Louis City boys. We still love them, of course. But tonight we're talking about USA. How you doing, Gray?
I'm doing good. Yeah, we have a little bit of a bye week. Bye weeks always hurt. But hey, end of the season's almost here, so we got to get used to it. And it's always a good time talking about some USA soccer, some world soccer outside the city stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to be here in the old Where's Waldo USA kit. Gotta love it.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss on this episode, and we're going to start out very, very hot with our brand new manager coming into town from Argentina, Mauricio Pochetino. Grayson, how do you feel about the new signing of a very legendary head coach?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I can't lie. As a Chelsea fan, I was a little bit skeptical when he came to the club there, and then I very quickly grew to love him as he did start to turn around in the Chelsea team from the how terrible we've been in the past year to kind of on the up and up, hopefully, as we've seen past couple months for Chelsea. So hopefully he can work his same magic at the USA. I will say the only thing that I didn't appreciate at Chelsea was his super intense trainings that may have caused a lot of our players to get injured. But when you're on the international team, I think that'll work perfectly. His super intense trainings bring an edge to the USA that I don't think was there with Greg. I feel like they were on vacation. They came to USA training camps mostly as a tactical reset to kind of, what are we looking like for USA? They've already feel like they've got it. But with Pochettino, they come into camp and they know they're going to work hard and have to bring it if they want to play for USA. So I think that'll bring a new edge and force the guys to really show that they want to play.
I completely agree, Grayson. He does sort of bring that edge. And to be fair to Poch, I think that any new coach would have brought necessarily more competition to the squad because there's a fresh set of eyes on it, a new coaching staff that he brought with him as well. However, I totally agree. I think that is exactly what specifically the US national team needs right now. I've seen them called prima donnas online. I don't know if I necessarily buy that. However, I think that almost anyone could agree that these are not the same like dog mentality players that we had in the early 2010s and even going into the 2000s. So I think what Poch will do through these intense training sessions is somewhat instill that kind of drive and that meaning and what it means to wear the shirt once again.
I agree with both of you. I also think like USA did a good job in this coaching search. I don't know how much they were like looking at media, but like everyone was calling like this is the point in time in which like the team needs someone with a high degree of pedigree. With the success that Pochettino is bringing to the table, it is definitely, as far as coaching levels go, multiple steps up from Greg Berhalter, in my opinion. Like the things that Pochettino's won just in his coaching career overshadowed by miles Greg Berhalter's coaching career. So I was very pleased with this signing. I was interested to see how it was going to look. And based off of the first game, which I didn't watch, I've only seen the highlights just as a reference for everybody for the rest of the video. They look really good. We're not totally there yet. Obviously, it's the first game, first camp with the new team, but it's already a different dynamic. Yeah. So with that, one of his first things that he was tasked to do was to announce his first ever roster camp or roster for the camp. And does anybody feel any type of way about going through who was brought, or do we want to start off with who wasn't brought?
Hmm.
I'd say some big notable additions. Of course, we got to say Josh Sargent. It was nice to see him back in the
Sure.
starting lineup, not even just the roster. He did make the 11, so it was cool to see. Of course, a St. Louis native get on there, as well as Tim Ream, of course, holding down that back line. So yeah, I did like that. Saw a bunch of like new young guys coming in. Aiden Morris gets a call up there with his recent performances from Middlesbrough. He's been balling out there. Busio has been playing very well in Italy for some time with Venezia, even though they have been quite a rough team for the past couple years. But he's been holding it down for them. Definitely been playing some beautiful soccer. So
I mean, even if your team's bad, get minutes in the Serie A. It's going to translate to the national team at some point.
No
Um,
doubt.
yeah, I'll start with the goalkeepers, and then do you guys have it all pulled up, and we can just one by one go from there?
Let's do it.
Sweet. So we brought four goalkeepers, which I was surprised that we brought four instead of three. Typically, you see three goalkeepers on the roster, but I think specifically for this, with everything around the goalkeeping position, Pochettino probably wanted as many eyes on as many possibilities as possible. So he brought Ethan Horvath from Cardiff City, who's got 9 caps, USA team. Patrick Schulte, which was a fun ad, in my opinion, from the Columbus Crew. Zach Steffen makes his way back to the USA camp. He's with Colorado Rapids right now. And then our current number one, Matt Turner, also comes along.
Good to see the other STL native on the roster, Patrick Schulte, break into the national team. He did pick up, I believe it was his first start over the summer. Uh, Still on the bench for this game. However, I am not 100% sold on Matt Turner being our number one goalkeeper. I think Ethan Horvath and Patrick Schulte recognized that. And I think the reason Poch brought in Zach Steffen is to bring in some of that veteran leadership. He's by far the oldest one, and that's not a diss at his age. He's definitely the most experienced. He's been along the in the clubs like Manchester City. He's seen the Premier League. He's familiar with the MLS. So I really like that he brought four goalkeepers, like you mentioned, Jacob. I'm very, very interested to see what makes his decision as far as a goalkeeper position going forward, whether it's minutes, whether it's how man of the match performances, whatever it is, because Matt Turner is not a current starter right now. He's not seeing consistent minutes, where as someone like Patrick Schulte is. Even Ethan Horvath is a starting keeper in the championship. So there's competition there. I'm not 100% sure who our number one goalkeeper is for the World Cup right now.
yeah, so moving on, we do have a lot of competition in our defensive back line as well. So I'll list off some names. Of course, we have our starters at the moment: Tim Ream, Anthony Robinson, Mark McKenzie got the start this week, but Miles Robinson slots in there as well. Joe Scaly's been featuring for the USA quite a bunch recently. Austin Trusty, Christopher Lund, and then recent call up Marlon Fossey, who had a really big show out in, I think it was the youth USA game. We got murdered, but he played really well. So that was pretty nice.
To be fair, I don't know much about Marlon Fossey, but I know he plays in Belgium, I believe, for Genk, which is a really high
Standard
level over there.
standard Liege.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah. So I'm very interested to see it. I do think that Anthony Robinson has that left back spot locked down, and Joe Scaly's performances over the summer were really impressive. If you don't know what I'm talking about, see his performance against Vinicius. And I'm not gonna lie, I am a trusty truther. I think that Austin Trusty is pretty good, and
You
he
trust and trusty.
I do trust in my man Trusty. I think just as Tim Ream potentially is at the twilight of his career, if not beyond it, there's a replacement inbound, and there's competition for it between Miles Robinson and Trusty.
I
I
do.
gotta shout out Cameron Carter Vickers, who's currently injured right now, but I'm a massive fan of his. He's like 26, so he's still got some years on him, and he's playing top level in Scotland right now. He's been in Celtics starting 11 for quite some time.
I think it's interesting to point out that in the entire roster, only 4 players are MLS players right now. With Patrick Schulte, Zach Steffen, and then Tim Ream and Miles Robinson being the only MLS players to make the roster, which one says a lot about how the talent of USA players has gotten even better. And also, like, in past managers, we've seen what has felt like a half and half type rosters. You've got half MLS players, half international league players. And I'm really liking the more go towards international. Like, we love the MLS because of St. Louis City, but as far as like quality of play and quality of players, it does get better once you go overseas.
No doubt. And I think to Poch's credit, I think the message that he's trying to send is that he doesn't necessarily care if you're in the MLS. That is not going to be the biggest factor in his selection. I think it's going to be based on experience. I think it'll be based on performances in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if a player like, for example, Darlington Nagbe could break into the national team again. If, for example, the Seattle Sounders are performing really well, maybe Jordan Morris finds his way back into the national team. I think it's things like that that are to be seen with Poch.
I think that if I remember Pochettino correctly from watching him in the Premier League, the 2 biggest things that go into him like playing players and recognizing their quality is, one, how well do they fit into the system he's trying to implement, and 2, what are their work rates? Because his system does require so much running, are they gonna run for 90 minutes? Are they gonna play intense for 90 minutes? And to be fair, I think a lot of the names on here fit both of those question marks. I think they check the question marks easily. Ethan, do you want to get into the midfielders?
I was just about to say, speaking of names on that list, a few more from the midfield. The Medford Messi, Brendan Aronson makes his way into the team. Gianluca Busio, once again in the national team. Weston McKennie. Aiden Morris gets a call up after, like Grayson said, really impressive performances for Middlesbrough so far. Yunus Musa, Christian Pulisic's teammate, doing really well in the Serie A. Another very notable inclusion, Tanner Tessman, definitely one to keep your eye on. I believe he was on Venezia. He was playing in Serie B. Now he's playing for Lyon. He's going to have a high level that he's playing with over in Ligue 1. And to round out the American midfield, Malik Tillman, a really impressive player. I think he has a lot of class, a lot of quality to be offered in Malik Tillman.
I agree. He's been tearing it up for PSV past couple seasons, so I'd like to see more of him for the USA. I feel like we haven't got to see his best work for the US. But if you see him play for PSV, he looks lethal. So
I
definitely
think
someone to
of
see.
all of the like different position player pools we've got, midfield is definitely the deepest as far as the amount of quality players that can play for the USA. I think obviously when what's his name, Tyler Adams is healthy, he's immediate pencil in. Then the substituted for this camp, fucking Jesus Christ, Jacob, what is his name? Help me out here, folks.
De La Torre,
Well, Delator,
Cardoso,
Borussia Dortmund.
Reina.
Thank you, Gio Reyna, the most polarizing player in the USA. Those 2 players definitely make the squad. And then also looking at it, who gets cut? Like, these are really good young players who, when called upon, have performed in the past. Uh, he's got a tough job, which is great because the USA is getting better. But
Indeed.
yeah,
I think it might. It's not terribly hard, but if we move into the forwards, I think no one has exactly locked in that number 9 position, but we do have a bunch of forwards. We've got, of course, Captain America, Christian Pulisic. We've got Ricardo Pepi, Josh Sargent, Brandon Vasquez made the camp after his switch to Monterrey. Got Haji Wright and Alejandro Zendejas again, who I thought looked pretty rapid off the bench. So I did like him. Seems like he wants to take on his man and get towards goal. So he looks exciting.
very Club America style coming from Zendejas too.
Yeah, very rapid, just run at you. And I was impressed by Brandon Vasquez in his time at FC Cincinnati. I think that he brings a different kind of Josie Altidore-esque build and
Yeah,
kind of game to the national team that I kind of appreciate. I'm not gonna lie. Of course, Haji Wright offers a lot of quality. He also was in really great form toward the end of the season last year with Coventry City. So I do think on this roster, it's between him and Josh Sargent for the number one role. But of course, Pepe has to be mentioned. Ferrer is very good. And we haven't even mentioned one of the main men that we fought so hard to get, Ballo, not on this
probably
roster.
the most notable snub of the roster as well.
I think that's mostly because we know exactly what kind of player he is. I feel like Pochettino probably has him penciled in as his number one starter up top. So he's probably trying to experiment with the rest of the other forwards we have and see if anyone else can step up and be that number two. And Ricardo Pepi has always been a guy who comes off the bench and puts in a goal. He always seems to be in the right spot, uh, capable of knocking in a header, as well as finding a nice, tidy finish like he did in this match. So for me, he might be my number two just because of the goals that he has scored for USA so far.
I'd say one more notable snub just for me because I was impressed by his ability on the national team was Cade Cowell. I'm not 100% sure how he's doing in Liga MX to be fair to Poch, so I'm not really in any place to say that he was snubbed or not. However, in his time at San Jose, I thought he was prolific. He looks dangerous, and I think would really offer a great option off the bench for Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, definitely two different like styles for that position as well. Like Christian Pulisic is definitely your like smaller, get under your skin with his style of play, probably better on the ball than Brandon Vasquez, but I think or not Vasquez, fucking it's been a long day. Um
Cade?
thank you, Cade Cowell. And then Cade Cowell's your more like pacey, straightforward, gonna hit you with a skill move and then just take you on a 60-yard dash and good luck keeping up.
Hmm.
Another name I just remembered, Tim Weah, who
Yeah,
a very notable performance the last time we played Panama and
not for great reasons.
not featured this time.
Yep. He is injured, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. He scored a banger earlier this season for Juventus and then got injured that same game shortly after. So seems to be the luck of a good USA player. But I hopefully we'll get to see some minutes for him before the World Cup starts. Same with Sergino Dest. He's been injured and of course also had a red card last time he featured for USA. So, but his quality is undeniable. Fantastic, fantastic player. So, definitely one that Pochettino would definitely like to push forward. So, we'll
Yeah,
have
I
to
was gonna
see.
say getting into the lineup and with the formation that Poch ran for this match, he definitely fits the build of like if he wants to drop Anthony Robinson to be like a pacey part of the three center backs, he can put Dest in that outside mid position, or you've got Robinson and Dest in those outside mid positions that when in defense it looks like a five at the back.
We also have a pretty stacked center of the park when everyone's fully healthy. So being able to integrate Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Yunus Musa into the same team while pushing Dest forward, maybe you drop from a 3-4-3 to a 3-4-1-2, but I like it. There are so many options when we have a fully healthy US squad.
Yeah, let's get into it. So the formation that was trotted out against Panama for this game was a 3-4-2-1 with Matt Turner being our current number one. He gets to start between the sticks. Question mark by that name. Who knows if it's going to continue to be him? And then three at the back, we had Joe Scally, who I've always loved Joe Scally. I think he's like a great 1v1 defender. And
Yep.
to be fair, he does have that dog in him.
Real
And
tough.
it comes out every time he plays. I like Joe Scally a lot. Center of the park, Mark McKenzie with Tim Ream playing as one of the outside center backs, at least listed here. That's a question mark for me because Tim Ream is not as rapid as I would want him to be playing as an outside center back. I think I'd probably put him at central center back. Go ahead, Grayson.
It's only that formation is what the formation looks like in attack. So in defense, he is a central center back. But when we push forward, he is more on the outside. So we do have to watch out for that in transition a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we are in our defensive shape, it does m look more like a four back, which is a lot more safe for sure for Tim Ream.
Yeah. Tim Ream can get beat with pace. And then going across the middle, Yunus Musa making a start at outside mid, which Ethan has some insider knowledge.
He was in the Valencia youth system around the time that Mauricio Pochettino was the coach of the first team at Valencia. Pochettino remembered that Yunus Musa had some success in the youth teams at outside mid, believed in him to play that role in his first game as the national team coach. And I believe that is what ends up rewarding Musa with that first goal for the national team, is that belief from the manager.
In the center of the park, we've got Busio and Aiden Morris playing that like CDM double pivot roles with Anthony Robinson outside. Grayson just said that in defense, he's playing outside back, but outside mid, I do think suits Robinson for his skill set because he is so rapid. And then like your center attacking mid slash winger roles, you've got Brendan Aronson, who is class, and then Captain America on the other side, Christian Pulisic, who is definitely the best player USA's like ever produced, in my opinion. And then getting Josh Sargent to start up top at the lone striker role. How did we feel about the lineup that got trotted out? I'll start with you, Grayson.
I did really like this lineup. I do want to see some starting minutes for Haji Wright. I feel like we haven't got to see him too often get the shout to really just start a match and see what he can do. As well, I did really love the call for Poch to have Anthony push forward. He's been this season and last season he's been one of the best defenders in the Premier League, and that just speaks for itself. That's an insane to be one of the best defenders in the Premier League, and the stats show it. And he's now just starting to get a lot of love for it now too. So um, definitely in my eyes one of the best players on the men's national team. So definitely definitely a big fan of this lineup. I know there's a lot of guys injured right now that I want to see, but I did like that Poch played a bunch of our starters as well as kind of experimented in some certain positions and see what we could do there. But
I agree, Grayson. We were all really interested in what Poch was going to do with his first team, with this selection of players. And to boil it down for me, he put them in positions to succeed. I think surrounding Busio and Morris, the more inexperienced center midfielders with Musa and Robinson, two very experienced national team players, was a really, really good move from Poch. I think that giving McKenzie a go in this pretty low stakes match, for what it's worth, was genuinely really smart as well. And then, of course, we're still, like you said, Grayson, tinkering with that number 9 role, but giving Josh Sargent a good run at it and letting him get a few chances. He definitely tried to stick his impact on the game, but wasn't really able to. So I agree with you. Why not give Haji Wright a run?
I think with Josh Sargent, with the way his career has played out, it does take him a second to get used to new systems. Like he didn't come out hot in the Premier League or even in the championship the following season, but like now he's bagging a goal what feels like every single weekend for them. So I think with more time and exposure, Josh Sargent could lock down that number one, but I'm in agreement. I don't think he is the number one, number 9 right now. I will say with the comeuppance of Aiden Morris in the last year, basically being a baller for Columbus Crew and now balling out for Middlesbrough, he feels to me like a safer health-wise type player than Tyler Adams is.
Mm.
Like they offer very similar skill sets, and the fact that Aiden Morris, knock on wood, hasn't been injured, I think gets him that call up. And Tyler Adams has some people to contend with for that position as long as he can stay healthy. I think my favorite part of this though is the Brennan Aronson Christian Pulisic combo in center attacking mid. I've liked Brendan Aronson coming off the bench and like have thought for a while now that he doesn't get enough run out, and getting him a start in, like you said, this low stakes game, he did put his stamp on it. Like I like that a lot. And then Christian Pulisic is our Lord and Savior, so there's just nothing but praise for him every single week. We did make 6 substitutions though. We had Pepe come in, Tanner Tessman came in, Malik Tillman came in, Haji Wright came in, Zendejas came in, and Lund, more like his legal name is Christopher Hansen, but Lund. They all got minutes, which was huge. Basically, guys who are going to be going back and playing huge roles for their club team all got subbed off in Robinson, Pulisic, Sargent, Aronson, Pusio, and Musa all came off the field. What did you see from the minutes that let's start with Ricardo Pepi because he did bag a goal.
No Pepe, no party, right? I mean, short-lived time on the field, but returns to Texas and gets it done. I mean, I think if you are Pepe, you have to be really proud of that performance. There's, I would say there is pressure on Pepe to, if not be challenging for the number one striker role, definitely to be the guy coming off the bench for whoever it is. So for him to be scoring goals that he should be is a positive feeling going into more serious games.
Yeah, I really don't have too much to say about that other than scoring goals is the forward's job, and he just seems to be doing it more often than a lot of the other guys who wear the red, white, and blue. So
I want to remind folks who may have forgotten, but when we first had Pepe be 100% with the U.S. men's national team, and we did have a lot of questions at the number 9, he did not have a great run of form. Like it took him a while to even bag a goal, even with all his chances. So his games to goal ratio is only at a 33%, but like those 10 goals that he scored in 30 appearances have come fairly recently in his time in the U.S. men's national team. I think he is one of the hottest feet that we've got. Now, granted, he did miss like 8, 9 chances in the last time that he played in Texas, but I like Ricardo Pepi a lot. I agree. I think he's probably our most dynamic number 2 striker that we've got. He's definitely earned the spark plug title in the fact that he's going to come off and give you a lot of effort to try to get on the score sheet. Let's see, who else do I want to talk about or have you guys talk about? I've not ever seen this Lund dude play a single minute of professional soccer. How did he look?
Lund pretty solid. Um, he plays in Italy as well. I am a big fan of his. He seems to be like one of those guys who he's just a workhorse who just really wants to be there. Um, and yeah, obviously we know he's not like the biggest name, and I think he knows that too. So you really do see that when he's on the pitch, the amount of effort he puts into every play and every minute he is on the pitch. It is good to see. So yeah, that's really all I've got to say about him so far. He's been pretty decent.
He's not a bad player at all. I think his biggest strength is on the defensive side of the game. I'd say he's a more traditional kind of fullback, whereas Anthony Robinson is certainly the modern fullback. He brings a different dimension for a different type of game. Say we need a stronger and less pacey kind of outside back. I think Lund brings that game to the defense. However, Anthony Robinson has the outside back position just locked down. That is his and his only at the moment.
If you had to player comp Lund to someone that I would know, who would it be?
Hmm.
Kolarov from Man City,
Oh, okay.
but
Interesting.
faster, but faster,
I was about to say, is he wicked with the free
faster.
kick too? How's his
I don't
dead
think
ball ability?
he's getting dead balls off he's not getting dead balls off of Christian Pulisic or anything. So that's nothing to complain
Well,
about either.
you guys want to chat about any of the other subs, or do you want to get into your breakdown and let me listen to story time?
What are we getting to?
I'm itching to get into it, Jacob. I cannot wait to tell the story of this game.
Take me through it. Let's go.
Although, truth be told, not the most eventful US versus Panama match that we have ever watched. These are two CONCACAF heavyweights, and that's what I was kind of expecting. We jump into the 25th minute for our first highlight, and slightly insignificant, if you ask me. I think Turner makes a save that he should from long range. It's a secure save. He doesn't palm it out, he doesn't fumble it or anything like that. But I
Mm.
just, guys, I'm not. We've talked about how this kind of Pochettino formation calls for a goalkeeper that can play with their feet, and I'm not sure that Matt Turner is that guy yet. What do y'all think, Jacob? Do you think that he can play with his feet confidently?
I think he's not unconfident. I just think his ability with the ball at his feet isn't his highest quality. I do think that's the reason Zach Steffen got brought into this camp because he is somewhat known for his ability to spray the ball with his feet. Kind of one of the reasons that Man City got him a couple years ago was they saw that and they wanted to uh, they were going to need that if Ederson ever went down. But then he didn't get the minutes, and he's kind of been in career turmoil, to be fair, since his move overseas. Do I think he's going to be the number one going forward? I don't know. I'm really happy I don't have to make that call, but it's going to be interesting to see if Matt Turner is that guy.
Moving into the 38th minute, we see Brandon Aronson getting in behind and ripping a shot somewhat from long range, kind of right around the top of the 18-yard box. To me, looked like he might have had enough space to take another touch. But when you're running at sprint speed like that and the ball lays up perfectly, you take your chance. Mascara, the Panamanian goalkeeper, makes a good save, forces a corner kick. A good chance, however, just still not that significant from the US against Panama. We move into the 40th minute where we see a set piece from Christian Pulisic go over the head of everyone, but Gianluca Busio is indeed at that back post. Takes his touch, serves it, and is able to find Josh Sargent, who probably takes his best chance of the night. Unfortunately, it sails over the bar. This was the moment where I was like, oh, unfortunately, he's not necessarily taking every chance that comes his way. He's a St. Louis boy, so of course I believe in him and I want nothing but success. But when a chance like that falls to your striker, it hurts when it doesn't finish.
Yeah, that one really did look like me out there.
Not an ideal player comparison for Josh Sargent, respectfully, Grayson. I'm going to steal a little bit of the second half because I didn't have all that much to talk about. But we move into the 48th minute where Anthony Robinson, the Jedi, finds himself floating up that left wing. He gets so high up the field so often for the US. He has some really great efforts, some great dribbling to keep the ball away from the Panamanian side. Able to connect with Christian Pulisic, who plays a very nice 1-2 on the top of the box with Brendan Aronson. Pulisic finds the ball on the end line, squares it, and finds his club teammate, Yunus Musa, who ends up getting his first goal for the country. The club teammates link up. It looked like perfect chemistry, didn't it, gentlemen? I mean, as sweaty of a FIFA goal as it gets, but glad to see the US claw in front.
Yeah, indeed. It's good to see a good goal from passing play, nice possession, quick 1-2s in tight spaces. Definitely was a nice little clinical goal. And I was starting to get a little nervous. Time, the clock was ticking, so it was about time.
Yeah, I was just about to say tactically, Grayson. I thought that in that moment, the US's left side was so overloaded and the players looked pretty on top of one another. I did not think that a good chance was going to come from there, but I think the US quality was on display and they did what good players do.
Indeed. So I'll go ahead and continue from there into the 53rd minute. Mr. Matt Turner shows why he is still the number one with a nice little double save. He may not be the best in distribution, but his real skill is shot stopping, and that was on display here in the 53rd. 63rd minute, we see a header from Mark McKenzie go just wide. This was a super good opportunity for his first goal for the USA, but just off there. 66th minute, we see all those substitutions start to come on in. Pulisic, Sargent, Busio, Robinson all dropped, most notably for Ricardo Pepi. 87th minute. This is a moment that I caught from the big moment I saw in the match that I wanted to talk about a little bit. 87th minute, a moment that really highlights the drop off in talent in a lot of these smaller teams like Panama. Murillo, who is an absolute baller, plays for Marseille in France, plays a gorgeous ball in on goal. Um, Pass of the match, in my opinion, like the best bit of individual quality in the entire match. But his teammate Fajaro taps it wide. It was so good. Just the most beautiful pass with the worst finish possible. Honestly, don't know how he got that one wrong there.
Dude, when you're down a goal and a moment like that happens, that's just when you see the shoulders start dropping. The wind is taking itself out of the sails for Panama at this point.
And it did go downhill from there because in the 94th minute, Haji Wright gets sent through from a Matt Turner bombing goal kick that was brought down, sends through Haji Wright. He outpaces the back line and finds Pepe keeping pace with him for another little sweaty FIFA tap in goal. And that's the game 2-0. I was very happy to see two goals just like that. Just good, simple positioning goals, nothing too flashy. We're just putting the ball in the back of the net, nice and easy. So good way to end the game there.
So, question, since I didn't watch, what was our formation looking like when you've got Pepe and Wright on the field at the same time? Was Pepe playing wide or were they both playing striker?
Nah, Haji Wright was actually playing in that Pulisic position, so kind of that wide 10 that like tucks in at times. But yeah, he was wide for that goal kick that came through, so he just had perfect positioning to get sent on in.
He has a
Interesting.
good kind of lengthy, pacey winger build. Like if he wanted to be a winger, sort of the a good comparison I would say is like Rafael, someone similar
Okay,
to that who can really face up at you and get a quick change of pace to beat you.
cool. Cool. Well, I felt like I was there, gentlemen. That was an electric breakdown.
It was
Um,
it was a game. It wasn't the most exciting game, but it was a good match for Pochettino to take his first 3 points in, you know.
he
Yeah,
is undefeated as a USA master
I'll
manager.
say I hesitate from saying underwhelming, but it slightly did feel like that. However, this is probably an instance where no notes are good notes, right? Like we used to be really picking apart a Greg Berhalter performance, usually because that's what they deemed worthy of. However, we didn't necessarily manhandle Panama, but we got the job done. I think this is a we took care of business kind of
Mm.
match.
We've
I
seen
wouldn't.
much better matches against Panama, specifically like a 5-0 Pulisic hat trick performance against Panama, but we've also seen very bad matches against Panama, 1-0s, 0-0s, draws. So having a bad game where we still win 2-0 is perfect.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like there's a contrast from the last time we played Panama. Granted, we went down to 10 men early in that match because Tim Weah lost his head a little bit. I can't talk too much crap on Tim Weah for that. I've done that plenty of times in my own playing career.
And if that was the domino, if that was the last domino that fell to cause eventually Pochettino to get here, I would not have it any other way.
But in that game, granted we're down and we did have some chances, but like we ended up losing, right? We lost to Panama that game, and we were trying to come back towards the end.
I think it was 1-0, if I'm not mistaken. Or like 2-1.
Yeah, I thought we needed to tie that game in order to keep our chances alive in the Copa America, and we didn't.
Yep.
Um, so that going to we might not have picked them apart, but it really does sound like they didn't stand that much of a chance in this match against us. Not because, they're bad or anything, but because we did just play better than they did. So as far as the Pochettino notes goes, that's pretty big deal just in recent history.
Stupid. Stupid.
Well, that brings me to a fun debate. We had this in our City Boys group chat during this match slash a little bit after this match of who the top 3 U.S. men's national team players are right now, and it is a consensus number one that Christian Pulisic is the best player. So I'm gonna rate him at God tier and force the rest of us to pick 3 other players that are the best for the U.S. right now. And I'm going to start with Ethan on this one. Who are your top 3 in order for the USA right now?
This is I'm gonna say my top three, but we have to understand that on any given day it changes. All right, because there's some days where Serginho Dest is like the best player on the field, and then there's some days he's getting the most ridiculous red card you've ever seen in your life. With that being said, excluding Christian Pulisic in not necessarily in any order. All right, I'm gonna say that Anthony Robinson is a top 3 U.S. men's national team player. I think that he has changed how the left back position looks for the United States. I'm going to say that Yunus Musa is one of our best players. I think he offers so much quality going forward and has just a diesel engine, and it does not go empty ever. And I'm glad to see him rewarded with his first goal. I thought his performance in the World Cup, incredible. Last pick. Oh, it's tough because Aronson is really good in the attack. Tim Way is really good in the attack. But I think Orlin Balogun is the next best player on the national team. I think that maybe a traditional striker, but when have traditional strikers ever really been a bad thing? In the French national team, they've done pretty damn good, I would say. So that's who I'm going to say is I got Flo Balogun. Rounding out that top 3 is like someone that I am so glad is playing for the U.S. national team. But that is a very, very, very debatable question, Jacob. What's your answer, Grayson?
Um, Obviously, I gotta agree. Robinson on top in order. Robinson is the second best player for the U.S. men's national team, and at times, I think he competes with Pulisic for number one, especially over the past year. Just when Pulisic dips in and out of form, um, Anthony, we've seen him be very, very consistently good for Fulham for about 2 seasons now. So that's been pretty crazy. Um, then I would have to agree that Yunus Musa is up there, but he does not make my list just because he doesn't get starting minutes for AC Milan at the moment. And as a man, if I'm thinking Pochettino manager, although he, of course, has experience with Musa, that's probably why he decides to pick him. Minutes for your team, he has stated are super important to his decisions on starting 11. Um, so I'm gonna pick Josh Sargent because he is having a very, very good start to this season. And this is I'm making my decision on a form right now. Josh Sargent has played 9 games and has 4 goals and 3 assists in those 9 games this season. So for form, he's definitely on top there. And then my last pick would be Weston McKennie, who has
Yeah.
revitalized his career at Juventus. He was he was on the market block this summer. Thiago Motta, the new manager of Juve, put a bunch of players on a list and said they're fair game, please take them. And most of them got sold. Federico Chiesa got sold for like 25 million. Like that's a fantastic player. That was an insane sale. McKennie got put on the list, and McKennie did not get sold. He stayed, and he actually fought his way back into the starting lineup for Juve. And he's been pretty locked down. Mata has definitely noticed his worth and is rewarding him with minutes. So McKennie, in my mind, is still one of the best players for USA.
Well, you make a
I think
very,
you,
very good
yeah,
argument.
I think you both have a great top three with a Christian Pulisic god tier. I'm gonna kind of switch up a little bit, which is, my narrative as a human being. I would say in agreement, Anthony Robinson is definitely the number two following Christian Pulisic. Sometimes he can be number one. And then underneath that, with everything that's gone on in his recent career with the U.S. men's national team, I still believe that when on the field with the ball at his feet, Gio Reyna is one of the best players to wear red, white, and blue.
At
So
the
many
very
skill
least, one of the
runs.
most talented,
Yeah,
like so good.
like so comfortable on the ball, even when, he's got to beat four guys in a single dribble. Sometimes I do think he holds the ball too long, but I'm not really going to pick apart his game right now. I just think quality wise, he is one of the best in red, white, and blue. And then following him, he's injured right now. He is one of my favorite players. I love the way he plays. He also looks like my friend Joshua, but that is Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams, oddly enough, I see a lot of myself in Tyler Adams when he plays center defensive mid. He
Yeah.
runs his mouth. He puts in hard tackles, and for like a little body, which for those of you who know me, I'm not that little of a body, but for a little body, he plays really big and he plays really loud. And it does feel missed when he doesn't play for the USA. Granted, I did say earlier, Aiden Morris did a good job of like filling that role. And with more time, Aiden Morris could easily earn himself into this top three for me. But as far as like past and what he has brought to the team and the leadership and his off the ball ability as much as on the ball ability, Tyler Adams makes my top three.
Very fair.
Definitely up there for me.
One player that we didn't mention who I think also could maybe sneak his way in there, Serginho Dest. Like
I thought about him too.
extremely, extremely talented on the ball, had great moments, great chances, also very quality for his club. Brendan Aronson also can produce just moments of magic at seemingly random times. Yeah, it's a very good debate to be had. I am so glad that this is the debate that we're having now as opposed to who our coach should be.
For those of you listening, let us know in the comments who you think it is. And also like the contrast of having this debate in, 2024 versus the 2010s teams where it was like an easy, Dempsey,
Donovan Dempsey,
Donovan
Howard.
Dempsey, Howard, even DeMarcus Beasley was in there.
Oh,
And like, while I do think Dempsey, Howard, and Landon Donovan would make a starting 11 right now for the
yeah.
USA if they were, in their late 20s still. Uh, we have a lot of fucking quality, and it's a lot of fun. Do we want to do a USA best 11 right now, or should we just leave it at our top three?
Mm, I feel like we've seen, granted, that was Greg Berhalter's top 11, but I think the starting 11 for Pochettino wouldn't look super different, if not so much better tactically. So, which I did want to talk about just a little bit into his tactics, um, because yeah, we have seen Pochettino get into a lot of managerial trends. And there's been a trend around Europe recently where you push your defenders into your midfield. So yeah, getting to see Jedi, who is kind of, yeah, coming into his own as his best form of his career so far. So getting him to push forward into the attack is very exciting. And The only thing I didn't like about this match is we still ended up getting bodied a little bit in the midfield. We lost a lot of
Okay.
duels and we still leaked a lot of chances against Panama. Overall, I still like the team and I'm optimistic, but we still look pretty young, and maybe not the strongest physically. So maybe that's what Pochettino's really long um, training sessions will become, is a good weight room opportunity.
Hopefully. I was impressed by Mark McKenzie last night and his ability to, I think his recovery speed is incredible and his just one-on-one defending in general. But yeah, Grayson, I agree. This is not the strongest US defense that I think that we have available. I love Tim Ream. He's, a St. Louis guy. I want nothing but the best for him. I don't think he's going to be the best available for the team right now. I'm not I'm not saying that he shouldn't make the squad for the 26 World Cup. However, it will not be a Landon Donovan kind of situation if he doesn't.
I agree. Well, let's get into our preview of our opponent that's going to take place tomorrow night. This episode's probably coming out after we play Mexico, so wait for a reaction on that one. But a preview to it, they've got a lot, like the camp that they called up is pretty loaded with some Mexico legends. This is also like if everything goes wrong for U.S. men's national team in a year, at least we can point to the fact that we beat Mexico. So I will say this is an important game for Pochettino as an early manager, and very important for the players in camp to perform well. We are having some players depart. Notably, Christian Pulisic is not going to be here for this game. Interested to see who they bring in to, have that extra body. But Andres Guardado is back in the team for Mexico. Sebastian Cordova, Diego Lainez, Alex Alexi Vega for Toluca's in there. Raul Jimenez is in the lineup.
They got Jimenez back.
Scary.
Still don't see Chucky Lozano here yet. I wonder if he'll ever make his way back to the Mexico national team.
I think he will eventually. I think he is probably most likely going to make his way to the MLS. Unless did he get signed to San Diego FC yet? I thought
Not yet. I
not
don't think
yet.
they've signed anyone yet.
You're right. I think I feel like that signing is on the way. I would like to see Chucky come to the MLS and see what he can do here. But yeah,
Guillermo Ochoa is back on the roster.
I think the main thing for me for this match, I want to see the guys that play in Liga MX to get some minutes. So maybe a start for Brandon Vasquez and Alex Sendejas.
Mm.
This is actually going to be Guardado's last match with the Mexico national team.
Oh wow. So
Is it really?
they want to win.
I mean, they're playing in Mexico too. This is going to be a really, really good test for Poch. Not to mention, this isn't going to be a World Cup venue, but we're playing some of the World Cup in Mexico. So might as well get used to what that environment will be like. I love this fixture. And I agree. I would love to also see some Liga MX players pop out, do their thing. As far as Mexico goes, they're in a weird place right now. They played Valencia's B team 2 days ago and drew 2-2. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what kind of lineup Mexico put out, but that's an odd result. That's not great for a national team side. They most recently drew Canada. They did beat, what is that, New Zealand? Yeah, they beat New Zealand. They drew Ecuador. They lost to Venezuela. Just in a weird place. So this seems like the kind of match that would benefit a somewhat inexperienced US squad. I would love to see that. Do we want to do our predictions now? We ready to predict some results?
Before we get into predictions, I will say, like, regardless of their past performances, this is definitely a rivalry game. And when it's a rivalry game, most of that bull crap goes out the door. Like Mexico wants to beat USA just as bad as USA wants to beat Mexico. So like I can guarantee we're gonna get the best performances out like against Mexico's players. Because they also point to this too, even if they have a bad year, they can be like, well, we beat the USA X amount of times. So while they have had not a great run of form, I do expect it to be a chippy uh, game, very stop and start, stop and start. So then I guess my prediction for this match, I'm gonna give USA a W here. Not an easy W by any means. I'm gonna go 2-1. Just because Mexico does have some goal scorers like Raul Jimenez. I'm gonna predict Raul Jimenez scores for them.
Okay.
And then for us, I'd love to see, is Aiden Morris going back to his club?
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict an Aiden Morris goal.
That would be fuego, especially because the last time USA and Mexico played, Tyler Adams scored a banger
Yeah,
from long range. And like you mentioned, Jacob, if that's the kind of role that Aiden Morris is going to fill, I think this is the time to kind of step up and prove that.
he's also wearing the number 7. That's my jersey. He's kind of playing my position. Aiden Morris might become my boy. You never know.
What do you think, Gray?
I can't lie. I'm a little nervous about this match. Just because I feel like we're gonna put in a kind of inexperienced, more youth side. Mexico's probably gonna put in a decently strong 11 as what they're probably looking at as kind of like a send-off match for one of their legends that they want to win. So I feel like they're gonna play him. They're gonna play the guys that he knows, and it's gonna be a Mexican side that has a lot of chemistry together. So I do think it's going to be I kind of want to predict a loss for USA here. I feel like a
Okay.
2-1 loss for USA, the first loss for Pochettino, but I feel like this young USA team is gonna not play as good as we're hoping. But yeah, 2-1. I think we're gonna get a goal for the man Haji Wright.
I knew you were gonna go that direction.
I like
For
Haji.
your sake, I hope that happens,
I
Grayson.
like Haji.
But I'm not gonna lie. My rationale that is almost argumentative to that, Grayson, is that I hope that these young players that are like more inexperienced with the US, right, are starting to get a feel for the jersey. They're starting to get an idea of what it means to play for their country, the significance. And I don't know if any players going into this game, if it'll be their first match against Mexico, but for all of the ones that know already, they know, like Jacob said, this is like an all out, like no holds barred, all out, every do or die must win kind of match, even if it is just a friendly. But Grayson, you're not wrong, brother. They do not want to lose this retirement match with their boy Guardado going out.
And let's be fair, I am used to a Greg Berhalter USA team going into this match where I feel like we definitely wouldn't be up for it. But I feel like hopefully Poch can instill some fire in the squad and see if we can hype the boys up for this.
Yeah, I
Ideally,
know Argentina didn't like playing Mexico when they played, so maybe Poch has some internal uh extra fire to win this game as well.
I'm gonna predict a dub for the US. I don't think we'll keep the clean sheet though. I think that the leaky defense will kind of get exposed with really, really good finishers like Jimenez. So I'm gonna say 3-2 USA. I'm gonna say a come from behind kind of victory. Brandon Vasquez gonna score. Brandon Vasquez, because he's just
He's just like that.
he's a late impact kind of player. So I think when USA claws back into the game to make it 2-2, and then we score again to make it 3-2, those scenes will be hard to beat.
So
Hard to
you're
beat.
specifically picking Brandon Vasquez to score the third goal.
Even yeah, even more on the money. Let me
Cool.
have it.
Double points.
Yeah, definitely after you watch this video after the game has played, you can drag us or praise us in the comments for how well we did on predictions. I think as a podcast as a whole, we're probably like 25% from the field. So
Not
We
very
don't
good.
keep shooting. That's not a bad percentage from 3-point range.
It's not Steph Curry.
I know Steph Curry.
Uh,
Well, I think we can move into Kid Clash a little bit. Let's talk about these USA jerseys. We've got these USA kind of in tie-dye inspired kits. Personally, I am a fan. I think these kits are fire. I think they're super unique. I think when you first think of a tie-dye USA jersey, you're not thinking of this. You're thinking of something over the top. I think this is subtle. They add like this the splash of white and blue on the side. So I think it's very nicely done. It's super unique. There's no other jersey even remotely similar to this. So in my mind,
sure.
I do really do like this USA jersey. I'm gonna give this kit an 8.7 for me. I like this USA.
Strong.
I would argue, like, I don't necessarily see as much tie-dye as it feels like spray painted with the white stripe. Um, but anyways, I also like this jersey. The the white version of this jersey, I'm not as big of a fan of, but we didn't wear it tonight.
Mm.
So I'm gonna rate it pretty high too. I'll just give it an even 8.0. We've definitely had better USA jerseys in the past, but this is not one that I dislike.
Yeah, this for me, very just kind of average. I'm not gonna lie to you. It doesn't really speak to me at all. I do like the combination with the shorts. Like I think the full kit looks good, which
Hmm.
actually I feel like isn't something you can say all that often, but I do think the combination goes well. For me, it's just slightly boring. I do agree though, Grayson, it does get points for being pretty one of one. I could not tell you another jersey like this one at all. So for that reason, I'm gonna say a 6.5. Like definitely have seen better US kits, have owned better US kits, but I'm looking at a better US kit on Grayson right now. So
Yeah,
That
I
kid screams Chris Wondolowski to me.
fire. I like this. This is I think of Alex Morgan. I think of Bob not Bob Bradley. Michael
Michael.
Bradley. Think of Michael Bradley, Clint Dempsey, Josie Altidore.
When I
You
see
just
that
named
jersey,
three fucking bald dudes.
Yeah. I
Maybe
just
that's
call
I'm
him
why it
Bald
screams
dead.
Grayson.
to you.
That's what this says.
When I see that jersey, all I can think is a snow game
Mm,
where they
Mm.
had all that snow on the field where I don't even know, but
they
very
just
iconic.
shoveled the fucking
Yeah.
touch lines and middle lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. And then this Panama jersey for me is if we're talking this USA jersey's average, for me this Panama jersey is about as average as you can get. Granted, it is their away jersey. It is just basically all white with nothing else really. I do like the font that they use for their last names. Um, but if that's the only cool part of your jersey, honestly, it kind of takes away points from them, to be fair. So I'm just gonna rate this a even 5.0. I don't like it.
Okay. You got it.
I'm a little bit higher on this kit than I am the US kit, I think, Jacob. You're not wrong. It is definitely basic and to me is very reminiscent of recent Japanese national team jerseys with the badge. However, I don't know another team sponsored by Reebok right now. So I thought that was unique and I do really like the pattern in the jersey. I just think that there's opportunity for improvement. So for me, probably just a 7.0. Nothing too crazy, but I did like it. Simple and classy.
I have to agree with Ethan on this one. I love this kit. I think it is simple, but it's class. Uh, Beautiful white kit. It's not too thin, so um, it looks good quality. I'm a big fan of Reebok as a brand personally. I always got some Reebok sneakers on, but this kit I do love. I think this is the one. I'm gonna give this an
Wow.
8.3 because I'm not gonna say it's better than USA, but I think it's solid. I would wear this. I would wear this kit.
Wild. Wild. Ethan, how do you feel about Reebok?
As a whole, I think they're coming around. They're I would say like I would say that they're like looking for a New Balance kind of thing, and that direction is working for them.
I feel like the resident boomer of this podcast. I'm not high on Reebok whatsoever.
Boomers love Reebok.
I had That's true. Okay. I feel the most Gen Z of this podcast then. Um, Growing up, I had a Reebok like gym bag, like a gym duffel bag type deal. And the quality of it was so bad. Like I think the like hand strap ripped like the first time I ever used it. And it just had like clothes and cleats in it. So it wasn't like it was super heavy or anything. So basically since then, since I spent money back in the day on that bag, I've been like, man, screw Reebok.
That's
Quality
fair.
trash.
Hey,
Um,
I'm a big proponent of their all white classic Reeboks with the gum bottoms. I've bought those like 3 times, I think. Those are so fire.
those are class. Yeah.
I will say, Grayson, you do your fashion styles a lot better than mine, so maybe I'm in the wrong here.
I'll take that W. I'll take that.
Big of you to concede, Jacob.
Yeah. I mean, as a whole, I am definitely number 3 on fashion sense in this podcast.
Dang.
For me,
He
I
is in the
am
city jersey.
so
Oh no, yeah, that OG City
oh,
jersey is pretty fuego.
yeah.
I think that is definitely like your valid pass for being a Manchester City fan. Nowhere near a bandwagon guy.
Yeah, there's not a whack ass boat on this badge right here. It's the OG boat, or it's the OG like gargoyle eagle thing. I don't even know what it's called, so I guess that does make me a casual. But I was there back in the day. All right,
Yeah.
Stupid.
cool.
Moving on. Should we head into grab bags?
Let's do it.
Cool. I just got one grab bag this week. Keep it short and simple. Gotta love it. Greg Berhalter is the new head coach of the Chicago Fire. Captain of a sinking ship.
Unfortunately for
Gotta
them,
love it.
yeah.
Gotta love it. Who knows? Maybe it's a match made in hell and it like turns out really well, but we'll see. We'll see.
I just can't really support him anywhere because he has no proven degree of success. Like
Uh,
he has not gone anywhere and made them really better. So I don't I think he will continue that and just the Chicago Fire will need to find someone else.
It'll be an interesting one to say the least.
I
I
hope
think he
that St.
needs.
Louis City play them twice.
Yeah, the match schedule hasn't been released yet, so that'll be a fun thing to go over. Yeah, truthfully, I think like Greg could be a great coach one day. I don't think he spent enough time as like an assistant coach really like honing in his own soccer theory on how he wants his teams to perform. Like Columbus Crew were already decent when he was coaching them. And the USA were already decent when he got the job. He has inherited 2 decent teams to be the head coach of, and the teams just stayed decent underneath him. So maybe some time after Chicago Fire, he gets relegated to like an assistant coach role. He could be a good coach in the future. I just never ever want to see him on the sideline for a USA match unless he's coaching the opponent.
That would be cool with me. I think the only grab bag thing that I have, and I don't even know if it's necessarily a grab bag thing other than just like something that I want to say, is that Pochettino is the man through the World Cup and potentially beyond. What happens at the World Cup could probably determine what happens with his job. But I was discussing with my family while we were watching the game, and I just want to make clear to anyone who might be unsure through the highs and the lows, we are riding with Poch through the World Cup for me. No matter kind of how good or bad these 18 months go until then, it's going to be, unless it goes catastrophically horrible, I can't imagine it being anybody else than Mauricio. And so I'm just gonna wish them nothing but the best. That's all I want for this US squad. And I also want to say that I think success for Pochettino looks like getting the US through one knockout stage game at the World Cup.
I think, to be fair, he's got a great ramp up period for the team going into the World Cup. We do have the Gold Cup next year, where St. Louis is one of the host cities. I doubt like they're gonna play Nations League here in a couple months at St. Louis, but like I doubt St. Louis is the host city for the US men's national team just because as a brand, like California is just gonna give the team more exposure going into the World Cup. Um, but I think a win or a good showing at Gold Cup, because anything can happen with CONCACAF teams, as we've seen in the past. But
Very
like
true.
a win is definitely like number one best performance, or two, like semifinal or a loss in the final, I would deem as a success. And then going into ramping up period for the World Cup in 2026, I know he's got a plan in his head for sure of what the team's going to look like by the time we get to the World Cup. There won't be any question marks anywhere. We will be sure of what system and starting 11 looks like. I am so full of hope for this new era of the U.S. men's national team.
Same.
We're on the up. We're on the up.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna hit the outro then because I don't have any grab bags.
Sounds good to me.
Sweet.
Let's do it.
For those of you who listen regularly, you know the drill. For any new viewers, listen up. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure you like and rate 5 stars. Most importantly, make sure you tell your mother you love her. And this has been City Boys. USA. USA. USA.